to start recording the webinar. So we will be able to share this recording if you want to view it again, if you have any questions. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Danielle Coco. I'm the Marketing Director at the Southern U.S. Trade Association. As you see, we have Kirby Bowles, who is a Program Specialist for Trade and Business Development at the Texas Department of Agriculture. She is on the line, one of our presenters. Hi, Kirby.
Hey, Danielle. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Great. I'm sure a lot of you work with Kirby, and we are very honored and pleased to have with us the Commissioner of the Texas Department of Agriculture, Commissioner Sid Miller. Commissioner Miller is an 8th generation farmer and rancher and the 12th Commissioner of Agriculture for the Texas Department of Agriculture. He was elected statewide in 2014 and re-elected for his second term in 2018. Commissioner Miller has devoted his life to promoting Texas agriculture around the world, and since taking office, his passion to increase market exposure for Texas agriculture has grown, and he now serves as SUSTA's board president. So Commissioner Miller, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, it's good to be with everybody. This is maybe new to everyone. When I came on board, we as an agency was not taking advantage of all the wonderful things that SUSTA has to offer our Go Texan members in Texas. SUSTA, you know, I have a pet peeve. Anybody using an acronym without explaining it first has to put a dollar in the kitty. So let me explain what SUSTA is. It's the Southern United States Trade Association. So it's part of a bigger group called NASDA, which is a National Association of States Department of Agriculture. Now, the country's so big, we divide that up into 4 regions. So we're in the southern United States. It's 18 different states are member states. So through SUSTA, we're able to draw down some dollars from the USDA to help promote Texas agriculture products. And we do this by partnering with companies like yourself, those that are joining in. Some of you have taken advantage of it. Some of you are probably new. But we can pay or actually reimburse you up to 50% of your costs to travel abroad to a trade show or to one of our trade missions. Or, you know, there's several opportunities, and those will be explained to you later but by staff. But more now than ever, we have to really focus on our international markets. We've got to have some more customers besides China. We need to spread out our risk. We let China have 60% of our agriculture commodities. That's too much. We shouldn't let any one country have over about 20%, or they can get us over barrel, and that's exactly what happened with China. So we've been working on my global outreach initiative since I was first elected in 2014. We were on every continent on the globe the first 12 months. Well, we didn't go to Antarctica. We didn't really have a reason, but we had a reason we went. And we have, returned about, for every dollar that we've spent, we've returned about 70. So we have here in Texas partnered with an export company, it's McLean Global, and we have seminars how to hook up with them and how to get they will help you wade through all the paperwork, legal work, shipping, logistics, all of that to get your product overseas if you want to, do that. Last year, we exported over $1 billion worth of agriculture products across the globe. We've opened new markets in Dubai, India, Spain, Vietnam, China, you name it. I've personally been to China and Israel and India and, many other countries and more to come. So we have a great partnership between the Texas Department of Agriculture and SUSTA, and together we assist companies in gaining access to foreign markets. I've served as a board president since 2018. This will be my last year. It was actually an extended term. Should have lasted 2 years, but we had a president that left in the middle of a term. So we're proud to partner with our friends at SUSTA, and because they help us find new markets for Texas goods. It's just that simple. That is their job, is to help you find new markets for your product, and that's our job as a Go Texan member. We're working hard for you. So together, between all 3 of us, SUSTA, the Texas Department of Agriculture, and the Go Texan members, we're going to help you get those products all over the world. So that's it in a nutshell, Danielle. I'm looking forward to the presentation, so I'll turn it back to you.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Commissioner Miller. A real treat to have you on. And I want to make you proud. I was fishing over the weekend, and I used as my neck gaiter to protect my neck
All right.
my TDA bandana. So it's getting good use. Thank you.
Go Texans bandana.
Well, thank you. We will go ahead and get started. Just a quick agenda. We will first go over a little bit about SUSTA. As the commissioner mentioned, it's always good to understand who we are and what we do, who we serve. Then we'll talk about our two core programs, which are global events and cost share. Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of creating your My SUSTA account, which is how you get started with us, and then completing your cost share application. So SUSTA, as the commissioner mentioned, we are a nonprofit trade association that covers the whole South. It's a pretty big region, and we are located in New Orleans with a staff of 14. So the only way that we can really thoroughly cover this, this broad region is because we have really tight partnerships with the Departments of Agriculture in each of these states. Of course, the TDA is one of our strongest partners, and we love working with them. So they help us implement our programs, and they also introduce us to companies like all of you who might be ready to use our programs. But the market access programs that we implement come from the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service. So they're federal programs, and if a company is not located in the southern region, they still have access to these same or similar programs, just through a different association. So that's who we are in a very basic explanation. And then the companies that we work with all have to be headquartered in our region. They need to be small by Small Business Administration standards. So that's either employee number or annual revenue. And if you have questions about that, we can talk offline. Typically employee numbers, it's usually under, I think, 500. And then the annual revenue, if you fall under that, it varies by company type. But we also have another stream of funding, the Agricultural Trade Promotion Program, where we can work with companies that are up to 3 times the SBA size limit. So something to keep in mind if you're a little bit bigger. Other requirements, we want to make sure that before companies invest time, money, and their staff or their workforce in exporting, that they have the adequate resources and product supply. You know, we would hate for maybe a brand new or a company that's not quite ready to export to be investing too much, although it is great for new companies to know that these programs are out there and to gear up for this. And hand in hand with that requirement, we like to see an annual sales minimum of $50,000. So, you know, your last year's sales should be at least $50,000 to get started with our programs. And then the types of companies we work with, of course, manufacturers, including private label. You know, you might not own the brand, but you might be representing the brand, and that's A-OK. Growers, farmers cooperatives. Farmers cooperatives have no size limit, and export management companies. In terms of products, the requirements, they have to have a brand name on them. So SUSTA works with individual companies to help you promote your branded products. We don't work to promote, let's say, Texas pecans as a commodity or as a group, or Georgia peaches or anything like that. You know, we're working with the individual companies. And the products have to be made from at least 50% U.S. agriculture content. What does that mean? Well, we look, or you look, because it's you certify that you meet this requirement, but you would look at your ingredients and make sure that at least 50% are farmed, fished, or forested here in the U.S. And that's by weight, and you would exclude any water weight or packaging weight and just look at the core ingredients to make sure that you meet that 50% requirement. And then the USDA really wants to see a U.S. origin statement somewhere on your packaging saying that you're either made in USA, a product of Texas, grown in USA, America, Texas. It has to explicitly say that. If you don't have that on your packaging right now, you can always sticker it, but that is a common theme that you'll see throughout our programs. So we'll keep talking about that origin statement. And the product types that we work with, think of everything you see in the grocery, from snack foods and sauces, consumer-ready products, fresh seafood, fresh produce, beverages. We're working with a lot of craft breweries and distilleries, horticulture companies, Christmas trees and different nursery products. Pet foods, as long as they're meeting that 50% U.S. eligibility or U.S. agriculture content requirement, that works. Same with supplements and some all-natural health and beauty products. So it's quite a diverse product line that we work with. That can use our 2 core programs. So as I mentioned, it's global events and 50% cost share. Through global events, companies can meet qualified foreign buyers. And then through 50% cost share, they can use those funds to promote their products internationally. You can use these 2 programs together. They often go hand in hand, but for a lot of companies, you can use them separately as well. So I'll walk you through each of these 2 programs. All right, our global events. In non-COVID times, when we can travel and meet with people face-to-face and shake hands, which hopefully we'll be getting back to sooner than later, these are our 3 event types. We have inbound trade missions, where you stay here in the U.S. and we bring foreign buyers to meet you. Outbound trade missions, which are the reverse. And we have pavilions at international trade shows. All of our events can be found on our website, SUSTA.org, if you just click on the events tab. But I want to go through each of these event types with you. So as I mentioned, the inbound trade missions, we are bringing qualified foreign buyers to the U.S. You would, if you register for one of these, they're typically $25. So for an incredibly low price, you're meeting with buyers who've already been vetted, who are interested in U.S. products. You'll get about 30 minutes with each buyer, and they rotate around the room to meet with various companies, but it is match made. So let's say you have a frozen ice cream or something like that, you wouldn't be meeting with a produce buyer. We're doing our best to make sure that you're meeting with companies that are interested in your product type. Again, a really low-cost way to get in front of foreign buyers and sample your products, show them your full product line, and hopefully gain or start a good relationship. But at the very least, it's a great way to do firsthand research. They might give you insight into the typical flavor palette for folks in their country, or even things like refrigerator size, and so what kind of packaging and size does best in their market. So these can be really valuable meetings to gain that kind of research. And right now we have scheduled buyers from China and Hong Kong to come to Houston in November, and again to meet with both Chinese and Hong Kong buyers. It would be $25. So hopefully by November we will be moving and grooving, and all of our events will still be going. And then we also have our outbound trade missions. So this might be for a company who's a little bit more ready to dip their toe a little further in the waters of exporting. So this is when you, the U.S. company, would travel overseas to meet one-on-one with foreign buyers. So again, pre-vetted buyers, a great way to gain some understanding and hopefully make some meaningful relationships. But in addition to that, we are also providing in-depth presentations from both the USDA Foreign Agricultural Service representative in that country, as well as SUSTA's foreign consultants who are located in that country, to really give you a better understanding of the market, the trends, what opportunities are there, everything from packaging to different foreign government requirements and regulations and that kind of thing. And then in addition to that, I've actually never personally been on an outbound trade mission, but from what I hear, the retail tours are incredibly valuable. So you'll also be taken to the various groceries and supermarkets in that country, and see, who's your competition, who's on the shelf, what's their price point. Wow, talk about a great way to really get a good understanding of a foreign culture and a foreign market. So these are, again, incredibly important ways to get started exporting. And as with everything, SUSTA strives to make it affordable for small businesses. So most of our outbound trade missions are $400, or they might start out at $600, but if you register early and you get the early bird special, it could be $400. And then you can also use our second program to get 50% of that reimbursed. So it would end up being only $200. Kind of amazing. For that fee, you would get all of the things that I just described, as well as either your lodging for the whole trip or your airfare to and from the international country covered. So again, just a really affordable way to get into the market and get more familiar. And then those travel expenses that weren't covered by the event, you can always apply to get 50% reimbursement through the cost share program. So I know that's a lot of information, doesn't need to be retained right now. I just want to show you just how affordable it can be to explore different international markets. And then, of course, we have pavilions at trade shows, all over the world. Where there's always a food trade show happening somewhere, and we try to hit the main ones in our key markets. So I'd say we go to about 20 trade shows in the year, and what we do is we'll rent out anywhere from 5 to 20 booth spaces, and we turn around and offer those to SUSTA companies. So if you register for one of our trade shows, you would get your own booth space, 6 square meters, 9 square meters, where you can display your products and all your marketing materials, but you would be within the SUSTA banner and the SUSTA pavilion. So it's a way to not get lost in the crowd, having that extra vote of confidence that you're part of a U.S. organization. U.S. products have a certain cachet where they're just known for great quality and high standards. And then in addition to that, of course, we will, for most of the trade shows, try to reduce the cost significantly. So let's say if you didn't go with SUSTA, it might be $6,000 or $8,000. If you come with SUSTA, it might be as low as $1,200 or $2,000. So, really trying to make going to a trade show affordable. And then, of course, you can always also apply for our cost share program to get 50% of that booth fee back, as well as travel for up to 2 company employees or representatives, shipping your products and marketing materials there. The cost share program can really be used with trade shows to help supplement and help alleviate, I should say, some of the expenses tied to exhibiting at these shows. So these are really great ways to meet a large number of foreign buyers. So again, you would find all of our trade missions and trade shows online at susta.org/events. Most, unfortunately, and I mean, this is not surprising, most have been canceled, I think, through August, and hopefully we will be able to actually implement some of our events in the fall. But, like everyone else, we are just kind of waiting and seeing and crossing our fingers. In the meantime, we've gone virtual. So if you go to our events page, you'll see all of our virtual events, which, it's really exciting. As the commissioner mentioned, Zoom and all of these different technology tools have been around for a while. We just haven't taken advantage of them. So now we are, and it's really exciting. We, in the last month, have launched several virtual trade missions. So this is where you can meet one-on-one with a foreign buyer. They will have your product in hand, which is pretty amazing, and it will be through Zoom. So, they'll be sitting in Canada, you'll be sitting at your office or your home, they'll have your product, and you'll have a 30-minute Zoom conversation with the foreign buyer. So, we're trying to make it as close to the real deal as we can. And again, these are very affordable. I believe these are also all $25, and they all include an allowance to get your products to the market. So I think it's either, for some of them, it's up to $100, and some it's up to $200 reimbursement for you to ship your products to our consultant in that market, who will then get it to the buyers. So the first one we launched was with Canada, and it sold out quickly, so sorry. And same with Mexico. we put them up on our website, and companies really were excited and registered. Tomorrow, our first India virtual trade mission will go live for registration. So if anybody is interested in India, I recommend that you get online tomorrow and register. These are really exciting events. So again, it's our first time doing anything like this, but hopefully we'll see some good results from it. We are also offering virtual consultations. These are free. SUSTA has in-country consultants in Canada, China, Hong Kong, Europe, Mexico, and India. And they are wonderful resources who know, really have their finger on the pulse in their respective market. They work in agriculture, they understand the buyer's perspective, and they understand the cultural perspective, and most of them have been working with us for many, many years. So again, you can sign up for a time slot. It's free. It would be a 25-minute consultation, and it can be really geared towards whatever questions you might have and to your products. So you would let them know in advance a little bit about your company, your products, and what you have questions about to really maximize the call. And I should have mentioned with the virtual trade missions, you'll have something similar. You would have a consultation with our consultant, and they will actually do a pretty full market assessment for your company and your products. So that would be included with the virtual trade mission. So yeah, really trying to take advantage of all of our virtual opportunities. And of course, we are also doing webinars, as most people are, educational webinars featuring experts. We've used some social media experts to talk about how to build your brand internationally using digital tools like Google Ads and Facebook and Instagram, and a variety of other digital products. We've also had our in-country consultants come in and talk about their respective markets. We've had some USDA Foreign Agricultural Service staff also come in and discuss their markets and the trends, what's happening right now. Everybody's suffering to a degree with COVID, and how are the different countries responding? I think we can all agree that groceries and packaged food are actually one of the few sectors that are surviving and doing really well right now. So, what are the trends coming out of that with e-commerce? It's maybe, and hopefully for some of you, an exciting time to be in food manufacturing and growing. So, we're offering these weekly webinars to really try to tap into that information around the world. I know things are changing rapidly, so it's hard to stay on top of everything, but these resources can be really helpful as you explore different markets. Tomorrow we have an exciting webinar at 8:30 in the morning featuring our consultants in China and Hong Kong, SMH. They've been our consultants, gosh, I think more than 10 years now, and they will do a really great intense webinar on those two markets, or one market, China and Hong Kong. So if you're interested, please register for that webinar today. If you do not yet have a MySUSTA account, you can go ahead and email me. I'll have my email at the end of the webinar, and I can go ahead and get you that information, and then you can get a taste of what our webinars are like. So we're really excited to feature SMH tomorrow morning. And that wraps up our global events. In a normal seminar, at this point, I'd say, are there any questions? But in a webinar, it's a little bit easier to leave the questions at the end. So I will go ahead and keep on talking, if you can stand that. I feel like I'm just talking a whole lot, but we need to talk about our 50% cost share program, because it is really where we see companies move the needle. This is where you can request 50% reimbursement of certain international marketing expenses. I will say, I don't think there is a program like this for any other product type outside of agriculture. This is a really special and awesome program for companies who are interested in promoting their products internationally. It's a wide variety of things that you can do. With global events, you can come with us to these specific events. But with cost share, the world is really your oyster. You can be going to trade shows where we don't have a presence, but you might want to go to a pet food trade show in Amsterdam where SUSTA isn't there. You can do that and request 50% reimbursement of a whole lot of the expenses that you would incur to do that and to participate. So I'll talk with you about the expenses and then how to apply as well. The ones that are highlighted here are the ones that we see companies using right now. And in fact, I'll move forward and we'll come back to the slide, but how to use cost share now, right? You're not traveling, you're not going to trade shows, but you can be advertising, you can be promoting in store because people are actually still going to groceries right now. So, advertising can be anything from a billboard to social media ads on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, as long as it's targeting a foreign market. And same thing with, of course, the billboards. It would have to be in a foreign country, but it can also be Google ads. Let's say you're selling beer and you want to target all beer or all people in Germany from the age of 21 to 55 who have searched for craft beer or beer or whatever it is, the keyword. You can really target people so easily these days with digital advertising. Same thing with social media. You can geolocate who you want to target by their location, their age, a whole host of demographics. So it's a whole new world of advertising, and those are the types of expenses that you can request 50% reimbursement for. Also social media influencers and other expenses like that. But as I mentioned, in store, if you want to have a shelf talkers or the end of aisle displays or any kind of display in store to really draw attention to your product, those kinds of expenses are also 50% reimbursable. Wrapping a van, TV, radio, magazine, again, 50% reimbursable through the program. So just keep those expenses in mind. Oh, another one that we're seeing right now, if you want to translate your website to a foreign language, either certain pages, where you can click on a little French flag and everything's in French, or if you wanted to create a foreign URL, those expenses are also 50% reimbursable, not just the translation, but the actual web development. So I'm going to go back to my previous slide so that I can make sure to touch on all the things, because as I mentioned, hopefully we will pull out of COVID and resume business as usual. So a place where we see companies really use this program a whole lot is for events. And as I mentioned, it could be going to events with us or not. But if you're traveling outside of the country to either exhibit at a foreign trade show or participate in one of our outbound trade missions, you can request 50% reimbursement of your booth fee, whatever the participation fee is, either through SUSTA or with this show organizer, and travel for up to 2 employees or company representatives. That would be their flight, lodging, and a per diem. In addition, you're going to be creating your point of sale materials, shipping your materials there. If you have to hire somebody to work your booth, their wages are also 50% reimbursable. So that's pretty amazing. Also, in-store sampling. I know we're not seeing a ton of that right now, but in normal times, that is a huge way of getting your product into your potential customers' hands and mouths. When you go to Whole Foods or Costco and there's somebody handing out samples, that company has, paid the store and they've hired somebody to actually do the sampling. You could do that. Let's say you're really targeting all the H-E-B stores in Mexico, for instance, and for 2 months, you want them to sample your products. You could request 50% reimbursement for all the costs associated with doing that. So again, you could get really creative with this program and really be promoting your brand and your products. I'd also like to mention our packaging and label changes. If you have to modify your packaging and labels to meet the import requirements of a foreign government, you can apply to SUSTA to get 50% reimbursement of, again, not just the translation, but also, redesigning your packaging and also creating a whole year's supply of packaging for that foreign market. So here's the full list. If any of that sounds interesting, we'd love to talk with you after the webinar sometime later this week or next to go through any of these expenses. All right. So getting started, I know some of you who are on the webinar already have your SUSTA account set up. Great. If you don't, that is the first step in participating with SUSTA. So you would go to our website, susta.org, and you would click on that sign up in the top right corner. And then you'll fill out a pretty brief form just to make sure that, so that we can make sure that you're eligible for our programs. So I just screenshotted that first little page. You'd see, with the operating details, just again, pretty basic information about your company. But I did want to call out a couple places where Kirby and I were talking. Sometimes companies, shoot, I don't know. Can everybody hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Shoot, sorry, Zoom just said that.
Yes, you're back. You're cutting out pretty bad.
Oh no. Okay, should I go back to the former slide? Shoot. Is that better? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, great. Sorry about that. I'm working from home and I'm not sure what happened. So here, there we go, that's better. Should I go back to the previous slide?
Your screen had froze a little bit too, so we saw the full list of eligible expenses, but you started cutting out when you went to the next slides.
Okay, so sorry, so sorry. Can you see my getting started page now?
We're just seeing you.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
3 for 3.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, I'm resharing my screen. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, the hazards of working from home. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, great. So here we are. For those of you who don't have your SUSTA account, sorry if I'm like duplicating everything you just heard, but you just go and you go to our website, susta.org, you click sign up. We're going to get some basic details about your company. So the first section would be your operating details. It's pretty self-explanatory, but that's a screenshot of that first page. But I wanted to point out some pain points that sometimes companies have. So when you get to your product focus, just make sure that you select at least one 6-digit HS code. So that's the harmonized system code that is used around the world to track product type. Again, it's a 6-digit code, so you would get to a two-digit code and click those little arrows, and it would bring a drop down of 4-digit codes, and then you would go down to a 6-digit. So I just want to make sure everybody sees that. You need at least one, but you can have multiple HS codes. And what we use that for is just to have an idea of what your products are, but also we get trade leads from our the foreign agricultural staff from the USDA that are located around the world. Let's say there's a buyer in Ecuador who's looking for, American apples or something like that. They would send us that trade lead and we would put it in our database, and anybody with an HS code that matched what they were looking for would get that trade lead. So it's just a good idea to, try to be as accurate as possible with your HS code, but just make sure that you get 6 digits in there. And then I also wanted to point out, when you're completing your company information section, to make sure that you check off which of our programs you're interested in participating. Because if you just check off global events, then our global events director will review your account for eligibility, but our cost share director will not. So just keep that in mind. If you want to participate in both programs, make sure you check off both of those program areas. And then once you complete your account, again, whichever program you checked off, then if it's global events and you're eligible, then you'll get an email from our director saying, great, you're eligible, you can now sign up for events. It's that straightforward. And then you can register online, pay online, and you can be participating. And that process is really quick and very painless. For cost share, it's a little bit more in depth because we are reimbursing you 50% of your marketing money. So you have to fill out an application for cost share. And that's something that you would do every year. And I'm going to just go over that a little bit with you as well. And before we move on, you have to recertify your SUSTA account every year. So if you were eligible in 2019, then starting August 1st in 2019, you would start seeing this pop up every time you would log into your account saying, do you want to recertify your account for 2020? If you say yes, you would just go through your account and, you know, change anything that needed to be changed. And if there's no changes, nothing, and just click, you know, that you recertify that everything is accurate. And then we would re-review you for the following year. But it's a rolling process. So, you know, if you're still pending for 2020, you can do that now and be reviewed for our 2020 programs. So just keep that in mind. All right, applying for cost share. So once you have created your account, you checked off you were interested in cost share, then you would get an email from one of our staff saying that, you know, you're eligible, but first you need to have a consultation about the cost share program, just to go over the nuts and bolts and make sure that you understand what you're signing up for. So you would have a consultation with probably Missy Lindsay, but it could be Alistair Perez as well. They're on my team and they're great at explaining the programs, but that would be a requirement before you can access the cost share application. So once you're given access to the cost share application, you can log into your SUSTA account and you would just click on the cost share application right here where you see that orange dot, and then you'll see the 2020 application. I mean, again, it's pretty straightforward. We just need to know your contact, you know, who to contact about what, a little more information about your company. But it's the marketing plans that are really what you're going to fill out and let us know. That is so important. So I did a little screenshot of the marketing plans. It was hard to get it all, and this isn't everything, but basically what it is you will let us know in what countries you want to request funding for and for what types of expenses and how much you estimate that's going to cost. So I did a mock marketing plan and I put in Mexico. So this is, you know, basically a checklist of all of the eligible expenses that you can apply for through cost share. And you would say, okay, in Mexico, I'm going to spend, you know, $15,000 on in-store demonstrations, and, you know, you'd put a little description about what stores and when that was going to take place. And then in Mexico, I'm also going to be exhibiting at this trade show, and I also want to request money for travel. So you would basically include everything that you want to get reimbursed for in your Mexico marketing plan. Then you could create another marketing plan for, let's say, Japan or Canada. You know, you can have many marketing plans. So that is how you request the funds. It's by market and by eligible expense. So, I mean, that is, you know, really the important part that I wanted to go through, but a few other nuts and bolts. Again, for cost share, you apply annually and you apply before you spend the money. So that's why we start the process of recertifying your account the August prior to the program year, so that you can you know, use the fall to apply and then come January 1st hit the ground running. But of course, as I mentioned, it's rolling, so we still have companies right now who are applying for 2020 expenses, and that's okay as long as you haven't incurred the expense already. It needs to be things happening in the future. We do ask that you request at least $2,500 in reimbursement. So that means you'd be spending at least $5,000 in eligible expenses. And then the maximum reimbursement request is $300,000. There is a $250 application fee with this, with the cost share program. And there is a 6% administrative fee on the amount that you request in reimbursement. So if you are spending $10,000, you would pay SUSTA a $600 fee up front to allocate those funds, and then you would sign your contract and be contracted in the program. So once you do that, then you go out, you conduct the approved marketing promotions that were in your application. You make sure to collect your receipts and invoices and the proof of activity. So that's going to vary depending on what it is. And then when it concludes, whatever the promotion is, then you submit the full expense claim to SUSTA. And usually within about a month, you would get your 50% reimbursement check. So that is us in a nutshell. Kirby, how was it?
Great. You covered most of it. Really great information tied to our companies. Awesome.
Good. Commissioner Miller, are you still there? Yeah. So, Kirby, did you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I want to thank all y'all for logging on and joining us. We know it was a lot of information, so we'll definitely take some questions here in a minute. As Danielle said, I'm a program specialist here at TDA, so I primarily work with SUSTA and help plan some of these events and help bring buyers here to Texas and get these resources out to all of our Go Texan companies and just help y'all, expand and start exporting, or maybe if you're looking at new markets, help with that as well. We work with first-time exporters. We work with people that go all over the world. There's no one perfect fit. We work with as many and everybody that we can. In fact, we're actually looking at having 3 different inbound trade missions to Texas for next year, pending everything. So hopefully those happen, and we'd love to see y'all. We're looking at having Mexico, Europe, and Canada, having those buyers come down. So we'd love to have y'all join SUSTA and come meet with these buyers. And then, of course, like she said, trade shows and advertising and all of that. We are here to help, and we want to help y'all take Texas worldwide.
Yep. Great. So if anybody has questions, now is the time to write them in. I see that there was one that